Hello everybody! If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 578, The Great Scone Disaster. Upper Beginner. Colin loved his wife, Brenda. Her birthday was today, and he wanted to do something special. Brenda's favourite thing in the world was a warm scone with cream and jam. So Colin decided he would bake them himself. He had never baked before, but how hard could it be? He found a recipe on his phone. It said mix flour, sugar and butter. Easy. He took a big bag of white flour, a small bag of white sugar, and a big block of yellow butter. He put them all in a bowl, but the flour went everywhere. A white cloud filled the kitchen. Colin sneezed and accidentally knocked the sugar bag into the bowl. Oh dear. Next, the recipe said, add milk slowly. Colin poured the milk, but he didn't pour it slowly. He poured it all at once. The mixture became a sticky grey liquid. It was not dough. It was like a thick soup. He tried to fix it by adding more flour. More flour went everywhere. Now the kitchen was a very white mess. The next step was to make small round shapes with the dough. Colin tried. He got the grey, sticky soup on his hands, his face, and his t-shirt. The shapes he made were not round. They were like small, sad puddles. He put them on the baking tray and into the oven. He waited. After 20 minutes, he opened the oven. The kitchen filled with a smell like burnt toast and disappointment. The scones were hard and black. They looked like small round rocks. Colin felt very sad. He put the rocks in the bin. He sat at the kitchen table, which was covered in flour. His wife's birthday surprise was a disaster. He heard the front door open. Brenda was home. "Hello, my love," she called. She walked into the kitchen and stopped. Her eyes were big. She looked at the flour on the floor, the sticky bowl, and Colin's white t-shirt. Then she started to laugh. "What happened in here?" she asked, smiling. Colin sighed. "I tried to bake you some scones for your birthday," he said. "It was a disaster." Brenda smiled and kissed him on the cheek. "That was so sweet of you," she said. She opened a bag she was carrying. "Luckily, I know my husband, so I bought my favourite scones from the bakery on my way home." Colin laughed and they sat down together. They ate Brenda's delicious scones and drank tea, surrounded by the mess. It wasn't the surprise Colin planned, but it was a perfect birthday after all. Vocabulary notes. Scone, meaning a small round cake, often eaten with cream and jam. It is a traditional British food. Example, Brenda's favourite thing in the world was a warm scone with cream and jam. Similar words, bun, biscuit in American English. Baked, meaning to cook something with dry heat, especially in an oven. This is the past tense of the verb to bake. Example, he had never baked before, but how hard could it be? Similar words, cooked, roasted, grilled. These are all ways of cooking, but baking is a specific method. Dough, meaning a thick, soft mixture of flour, water, etc., used for making bread, cakes, or pastries. Example, the mixture became a sticky grey liquid. It was not dough. Similar words, paste, mixture, batter. Batter is usually more liquid than dough. Mixture, meaning a substance made by mixing other substances together. Example, the mixture became a sticky grey liquid. Similar words, blend, combination, compound. Disaster, meaning a terrible event or a very bad situation. Example, his wife's birthday surprise was a disaster. Similar words, catastrophe, failure, mess. Mess, meaning a dirty or untidy state of things or a difficult situation. Example, now the kitchen was a very white mess. Similar words, disorder, chaos, clutter. Puddles, meaning small pools of liquid, often rain. In the story, the word is used to describe the shape of the scones. Example, the shapes he made were not round. They were like small, sad puddles. Similar words, pools, drops. Luckily, meaning by good fortune or with good luck. Example, luckily, I know my husband, so I bought my favourite scones from the bakery on my way home. Similar words, fortunately, happily, by chance. Story written by Gemini Pro AI, image created by Imagio AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something a bit different, a single, really charming source. Short story 578, The Great Scone Disaster. Our mission. Well, it's to pull out those nuggets of knowledge about human behavior, good intentions gone wrong, and maybe what perfect really means in our relationships.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how a simple story like this can, act almost like a little case study. We're not just looking at what happened, but the relationship dynamics underneath it all and how just perception can totally change everything.
Okay, let's get into it. So we meet Colin. He wants to do something lovely for his wife Brenda's birthday, her absolute favorite thing. A warm scone, cream, jam, the classic. So Colin, and this is the kicker, he's never baked before, ever,
Right.
but he decides he's going to make them.
Right. And this immediately sets up that classic problem, doesn't it? The intention-outcome gap, you could call it.
Yeah.
He clearly wants to show love, wants to do this great thing for Brenda, but he has zero practical skill for this task. The source paints a pretty vivid picture. The flour went everywhere, a white cloud filled the kitchen.
Oh, I can just see it. And then he accidentally knocks sugar into the bowl, too.
Which probably didn't help the situation much. It's sort of comedic, but it shows how fragile things are when you're a total novice.
And it escalates, doesn't it? The recipe says, add milk slowly.
But Colin? Nope.
Pours it all at once.
Yeah.
And the mixture turns into this sticky gray liquid.
Yeah, the story's very specific. Not dough, it says, but like a thick soup. Ugh.
And trying to fix it just makes, well, the kitchen a very white mess.
Yeah.
It goes from a small mistake to a full-on kitchen catastrophe pretty fast.
It really does. And if you think about the psychology of it, a small slip-up just cascades, doesn't it? It becomes this overwhelming feeling of failure. The story describes the raw dough as small, sad puddles. That's quite evocative.
It really is.
And after baking, even worse, they come out hard and black.
Looking like small, round rocks.
Exactly. And smelling of burnt toast and disappointment. That's quite a smell.
Wow. So Colin feels very sad, understandably, and just puts them straight in the bin.
Yeah, you can feel his deflation, can't you? That sense of unmet expectations, even though his heart was absolutely in the right place.
And this is where the story gets really lovely, I think. It pivots. Brenda comes home. She sees the utter mess, the floury chaos, and she doesn't get mad.
She laughs.
She starts laughing, yeah. And that reaction just changes the whole energy of the scene, doesn't it?
Completely. It reframes everything. It's a fantastic example of what psychologists might call cognitive reframing in a relationship. She focuses on the why behind the mess, not the mess itself. And then she reveals, luckily, she says, I bought my favorite scones from the bakery on my way home.
Because, as the story puts it, She knows my husband.
Exactly. Her understanding, her sort of foresight, maybe even anticipating a potential baking adventure, it turns failure into something shared and, well, funny. It really speaks to that idea of unconditional positive regard,
Yeah.
accepting the person, effort and all.
So what's the takeaway here? Colin's baking was a disaster, no question, a total failure. But they end up eating Brenda's delicious bakery scones together, right there in the middle of the flour explosion. And the story ends. It wasn't the surprise Colin planned, but it was a perfect birthday after all.
Yeah, the focus shifts completely. It's not about perfect scones anymore.
It's about the effort, the laugh, the shared moment, her understanding.
And that's such a profound little lesson, isn't it? That the real value, especially in our relationships, isn't always the flawless result. It's often in the intention, the trying, the ability to find the good, find the joy, even when things go completely wrong. Acceptance and understanding beating perfectionism, basically.
Absolutely. It shows how a disaster can actually become something more memorable, maybe even more meaningful, just by how you look at it. So maybe the next time you try something, you put your heart into it and it just doesn't work out. Remember, Colin and the rock scones. What really jumps out at you when you think about this story? Perhaps it's just that simple idea. Love, understanding, and a good laugh. Maybe those are the only ingredients you really need for a perfect moment.